Hey everyone, welcome back to Satisfactory Outposts in the Desert. Jumping right in, the last episode we started our second level of the Iron Outpost. This is where all of the ingots will be processed, or at least the vast majority. And this is what the setup looks like when it's completely fleshed out. We've got our, I guess, 120 constructors making screws. It's nuts. And then a little farther to the west here, we've got 26 constructors making iron plates. All of those are being lifted up to the floor above us, as well as the remainder of the ingots not being used to make screws. That's only 60 iron ingots per minute, but we're going to take them up to the third floor and use them to make iron rods, just for any of the rods we need for uh, is it splitters that need rods? Mergers. Mergers need rods. Conveyor poles, stackable conveyor poles. Um, storage boxes, or the first tier of storage containers. There's a need for them, but since no component actually requires rods, we're not going to go big on the production of them. So this is the third floor. This will be the top floor of our iron outpost, and we're just going to get started with the assemblers we'll need. I guess we can start with the iron rods. I probably should have planned this out before I started this episode, but I don't know exactly where everything's going to go. But we've got a lot of room, so it's not going to be a big deal. First off, let's just identify which which of these belts has which items, because we need to merge these ingots first of all. Let's just bring this down. That'll be the first priority. I guess we can just do the ingots right here in the back, or would it make more sense to drag the belts all the way over? Let's drag the belts over. We'll put the yeah, that'll be pretty nice, I guess. The assembler or the constructors for the iron rods right here on the eastern end. Production. Constructors. Okay. This is just, it's a really small setup. We're just going to use 4 constructors. I guess we should center this. Let's put our mergers here. Mergers. And merger. Are those centered? Neither one. Okay. I had a teal line there. What is that lining up with? I don't know. Okay. Now constructor. See, what is this? Okay. What is that lining up with over there? Is it from another floor? The teal line going out to the north there? Who knows? Okay. So that's it. This is everything we're making for our iron rods. There's the alternate recipe that I've unlocked for steel rods. It's you get 4 steel rods for each 1 steel ingot. It does produce at a much higher rate, much higher. It's 48 parts per minute. The iron rod is only 15 per minute, I believe. Yeah, 15 per minute. But, why? Why do you want to use the rarer resource, the more complex resource of steel, um, when there's not a great need for iron rods? It's like super situational. Really, I think it'd have to be just like a conscious choice to use them. Now we're going to use a splitter here, and a splitter here, and hopefully this belt. Okay, it's going to be just slightly off, not a big deal. And since we're taking the belt all the way to the other side, we're going to raise them up a little bit. That way we're not constantly jumping over belts. Love the change where you can raise the belt at the very end without putting the conveyor pole down first. That's great. Where are we at? Probably need to right here. We'll raise it up, and then we'll go off to the side. Same thing over here. Raise it up. And then off to the side. Now we don't even really need another splitter here. I'm just going to go to my Mark 1 belts because, you know, it's fine. That's all we need. And square it off. Mark 1s. Technically, this could even be, you know, actually, all of this can be Mark 1 belts. Because this is only transporting 30 ingots per minute each. So let's just use Mark 1s. We'll save our steel beams, you know, for the places where you actually need greater than 60 atoms per minute. Each of these will be outputting 15 iron rods. It's a total of 60. These can all use Mark 1 belts, no problem. And now I guess we'll raise this up. I don't think I can raise it up. Yeah, that close, but here we'll raise it up. We haven't really planned out the system for transporting the goods from the iron outpost to our other outposts, but I imagine at the bare minimum we're going to have a sort of like a mini storage depot here with storage containers. We may have a little mini item bus at this end. Logistics, conveyor belt Mark 1. Alright. So once this is powered, you know, that's our iron rod setup. It's small, but it will more than meet any needs that we have. Now, here is the more complicated part, because we're making reinforced iron plates and modular frames. And the reinforced iron plates are needed to make the modular frames. Reinforced iron plates will be iron plates and screws, and then the modular frames will be the reinforced iron plates and screws. We're going to need it's actually like, should we have put our, and you know what, we've got plenty of room. Let's not sweat it. We don't need much room at all for this. Like just taking up this southern half of the top floor, that's going to be fine. For this setup, based on the number of plates and screws that we have, it's only going to be 12 assemblers making reinforced iron plates. I guess the trick here is going to be feeding these 12 assemblers with 3,000 screws per minute, right? Because, okay. It seems like each assembler, every 3 assemblers will need at least 750 screws per minute. Yeah. So, not a problem. I think we can figure that out. Let's give ourselves plenty of room here. We'll start start up here. Why not? We've got the space. Now we'll do. We need 12 assemblers, right? So there's 3. We're going to give ourselves a little more space. Just 1 space here, 2. 1, 2. Okay. 1, 2. There's 6. And now we'll just mirror that over here. Is this less than half of the platform? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Actually, let's count from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we should move this back 1 foundation, just so it's centered a little better. We can also move it a little farther to the south here. We've got the space. Okay. That's backwards. One, 2, 3. 2, 3. Right here. We need to take this back. There we go. Perfect. So this is 7, 8, and 9. Ten, 11, 12. Okay, let's look at the recipe. We're using the alternate recipe here. The alternate bolted iron plate. There's another alternate with a wire, but because this is in a all iron outpost and we're not using iron wire, it definitely makes sense to use this. Also, the output is higher. This is the highest output for reinforced iron plates. This will produce 15 per minute. This is only 5.6 per minute, and the default recipe is only 5. So, in terms of output, this is by far the best. Let's set these recipes. Okay. So each assembler requires 250 screws per minute. It's a lot. So each group of 3 is going to be 750. That's almost an entire Mark V belt. Mark V belts are 780 screws per minute. Fortunately, we brought 8 belts of screws up, so each cluster of 3 there will receive one of the 4 belts on this side. Just need to think about the best way to get them over. All of these iron plates will be used. Well, nearly all. We're bringing up here. Each of these belts of iron plates is 520 plates per minute, and we need a total of 960 plates per minute. So one belt will feed the western 6, one belt will feed the eastern 6. You know, in a lot of ways, this would be easier if our belts were coming up from the south side. But what we can do is something that I'm not very practiced with. Before update, these are backwards. Before update 3, they had they were just called conveyor walls, and they had a wall segment with a single like support for a conveyor belt. But with update 3, you actually have the increased freedom to place the supports wherever you would like them. That's good, you know, it gives you a lot more options, but I find it's also, you know, just more opportunity for you to misplace the supports by like one notch there. So we need 3 belts coming to this group of 6 here on the west side. 1 of plates, 2 screws. Let's start here. We'll just try to place these relatively evenly. We'll skip a spot. Okay. 1, 4. That may be all we need to do here. We'll see. Actually, we should at least do the top belt farther, I suppose. So I'm just counting out 5 foundations. That'll be the max regular length that we can stretch a belt here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll put, I guess it should be the top belt. Man. Okay. 1, 2. Okay. So, iron plates. Yeah, that looks great. But here's the issue. We've got some clipping, and that's not acceptable. So what we really need to do here is, like, come out from the wall. Oh, no, better idea. We'll use lifts. Okay. You know, ideally they would be level. Actually, let's just make sure that 3 walls is. We may need to go up to 4 walls because the assemblers are taller than constructors. And it does seem like there might be... Oh man, look at that. So 3 walls is still tall enough for assemblers, but it's close. Okay. One change they just made with the patch this week is that the smoke that these machines and constructors and smelters all emit no longer permeates the foundations, which I like. In previous playthroughs, I've had to make, you know, the height of each floor significantly taller, just so that smoke did not penetrate the floors. Okay. Of course, looking at this now, we can already see that we will need at least 4 because this conveyor lift will not be covered. So I'm just going to, I'm out of iron plates. I just need to grab some more. Okay. So if we're going to need more walls anyway, you know, why not do it right? It looks like 4 walls will be enough to cover the height. That's backwards. Cover the height of the conveyor lifts. Yeah. Yep. Plenty of room. And if we're going to be using 4 walls, counting the windows as the first, then we can go ahead and make these level. And just make it look better, which is important. Need more iron plates. Just by dismantling and replacing those belts, carrying the iron plates, I can claim them into my inventory. Rather than going to the floor below and collecting iron plates. Now let's try to set up these wall mounts at spacing that is level with the outputs of the conveyor lifts that we've replaced. Shouldn't be too hard. See, the upper mount was already level, so it looks like we'll just need to skip that many spaces again, perhaps. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I bet that's level. Nope, it's not. There we go. Okay, easy enough. So this will go here. This will go here. I lost my spacing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, one higher. There we go. Now let's see how this looks. We're gonna need one of these systems, I think. Two, three, yeah. Three, this is only 4. Guess we could go all the way down to 5 here. Let's do that. So one thing to keep in mind, we will not be using all of the iron plates, and we'll want to collect the excess in a storage container on this floor. Just so we can quickly pick them up or transport them to a central storage location whenever we need iron plates for splitters or mergers or stackable conveyor poles, or even just the Mark I belts. Okay, so let's think about this. Should we just come out 1, 2, 3, 4? Let's try that. Yeah, that's pretty good. That should be 2 90-degree turns here. It just looks a little wonky because we're also losing some elevation. But it's not a big deal. Or at least that doesn't bother me too much. And this will be our first belt of screws. We'll actually want to take that right there. It actually may make sense to put one more set. And we can end the screws right here. Okay, now we're going to use all 3,000 of the screws. So every bit. That doesn't seem right, does it? Yeah, totally right. So each of these belts, it seems like each of these belts should be carrying 750. And each cluster of 3 will consume 750. Let's bring our second belt over. Okay. And this belt will completely feed these 3 assemblers. Okay, that looks pretty clean. Here's the more difficult part here. We need to bring over the other two, let's see, should we use these two belts or the same two belts over here? I'm leaning towards using these two belts, and then we'll use the center 4 belts as screws for our modular frames. Yeah, let's do that. And I think the way to do it is probably just to put them all on a small bus like this. Just a stack of 3 conveyor poles. If we can do it without clipping. I think in order to do that, we're probably going to need to go higher. And use conveyor lifts. So obviously this one, that's fine. This can go straight out. This is the second. Can we come right over here without any clipping? Okay, that's easy, yeah. But for this, like there's gonna be clipping there, right? Yeah, it's clipping the belt of ingots. So we'll just add a conveyor lift, just like that. And if we can belt it over to the third one without any clipping, great. So we'll remove these two. Now, one, two, three, 5. And we've got to take it over. How far back did we put these? Okay. So if we want to mirror the first cluster, it'd be right here. We're out of plates again. We are going to use all 3 this time. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Actually here we can go down to 2. Okay. What's the best way to do this? I guess it's to bring this belt down. Need to bring, no, that one's fine. So it's going across right here. So we'll bring it down here. Okay. This isn't totally ideal, but it's clean enough that you can't label it spaghetti. And there's no clipping, which is the most important. Okay, so this time we've got the iron plates on the top belt. So we're short on steel beams. Let's hope we have enough to get through this. We definitely will not. Okay, so we'll have this belt coming to here. I guess we're going to, what we should do again is we should mirror it better. Yeah, there we go. This belt of screws will stop here after it's supplied these three. This belt will come over and then shift down. And then our bolted plates come over and shift down. Now I'm a little bit concerned that this is too tall to use a belt. We may have to use a conveyor lift here. Let's see. Yep. I don't think that's an issue of it being on a line that looks really straight to me. That's fine. We'll just use a conveyor belt to get those plates down. And now these have shifted down, the plates again will feed this last three along with this second belt of screws. So this looks pretty good. These will all merge, and all 12 of these can be merged onto a single belt of reinforced plates. That's no problem. The total output from the 12 is 180 reinforced plates per minute, so almost 2 stacks of reinforced plates every minute. Most of these will be used for the modular frames. I think the modular frames requires 150 per minute, so that'll give us an excess of 30 per minute that are just accumulating for use in other things, like either just constructors and assemblers, or like the smart plating for the space elevator unlocks that requires reinforced iron plates. Okay, this is basically done. We're going to need some materials. Let's head back to the starter factory temporarily, just really quick. Can dump these and get some more steel beams. We'll pick up some iron plates, and then we'll come back and quickly set up modular frames. At this point, I've basically unlocked all of the alternate recipes that I can so far. To get the rest, I'll have to unlock, tiers 5, 6, and then 7. This hypertube I set up between episodes is just going to be taking us from a little cluster of hypertube entrances over to the next outpost that we'll set up, and that's going to be a concrete. It's smaller, but still a decent size, but it should only be, initially anyway, it's just going to be one level. So that'll be relatively quick to set up. Just one level fed by 2 pure limestone nodes. And then there are an additional 2 limestone nodes that are pure, and they're a little farther away. Right now my plan is to save those for tiers 5 and 6. And then maybe we can set up a second level in the limestone factory to use the pure concrete recipe, which is made in a refinery. using limestone and water to really increase the efficiency, the output of your concrete. You really can't ever have too much concrete in Satisfactory. You just need a ton. These outposts are really closer than I thought they'd be, but you know, like the game seems so huge and the distances seem so huge in the early game, and then once you like start putting all these platforms together off the ground, you know, obviously in Satisfactory, the higher you go in terms of elevation, the farther you can see, and the map really starts to shrink. So the concrete factory will be there to the east, and there's not a ton of room between the concrete factory and the iron factory. I think the steel factory will be basically on top of those coal nodes, almost splitting the distance between the two. And then the other factories will be farther apart, for sure. Like the Caterium factory is going to be way off to the north. I haven't decided on a placement for the copper outpost yet. Okay, let's just fill up on iron plates. There we go. Okay, let's finish this off. So one thing to consider, we're not using all of the iron plates that we've made on the second floor. They're not all being consumed by these 12 assemblers making reinforced iron plates, and we want to gather what's left into a storage container. Now we could split them off initially and merge them, and that might be a little cleaner, but what that's gonna do is, we want the priority to be on our reinforced iron plates, because these will be used for other products. So if we split them off now, then we empty out a container of iron plates. That's going to slow down our production of reinforced iron plates, and that will slow down our production of modular frames, and that'll slow down our production of heavy modular frames. You know, it's just a huge chain reaction. So I think the only way to do it smartly is to collect the excess of iron plates here after they've already fed all of the assemblers. So let's, the screws you don't have to worry about. The screws from these will be completely consumed by the assemblers. This would be a little cleaner if the belts were on the same level, but they're not a big deal. So what we'll do is just wrap these around, bring this up. Actually, it makes more sense to bring the belt on the east down. Right? Because my plan here we'll see if this is a viable plan. This is kind of like the way that this works. I can't remember the best way to do this. Oh, that's right, they snap to the end now. So like line this up and then move back one space. And then put a merger. Was it just one space? I feel like it was. Merger. It says invalid placement. Do I need a belt here? Yeah, there we go. So we're going to output to the north. Yeah, we don't need this. right. So this will be our excess iron plates. I'll remove this too. I don't like the way that looks. And then we'll just transport them above the mergers collecting reinforced iron plates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. May not need that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. I don't. Spacing worked out nicely. Okay, how do we feel about that clipping? Oh, you know, I don't hate it. It almost looks like it was made to accommodate that. Yeah. For me, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with the way this looks. There we go. So our excess iron plates would be right above the reinforced iron plates that we're collecting here. Now each is producing under 15 per minute. That means we can use tier 1 conveyor belts. Okay, let's set up our inputs really quickly. Taking a little more time here than I wanted, just for reinforced iron plates. But this was kind of a tricky setup with the wall attachments and the 4 belts of screws. Just trying to line the arrows up as closely as we can. Oh. Okay. So we definitely need the Mark III belts for screws. Screws are on the top. Yeah. Wait, is that? Yeah, okay. 250 screws each. Means we'll actually need to be upgraded to Mark IV belts when we can. But they only require... Oh, they require 80 plates per minute. Wow, so we need to use... We wouldn't use Mark II, but I'm just going to use Mark III instead, because I don't have a huge supply of reinforced iron plates at the moment. Okay. And the same thing over here. That's iron plates. So this is the belt we need to use. I need to redo this just to preserve the pattern here. It's totally minor and totally nothing functional, but I've got the iron plates coming in on the left input. For those, let's just mimic that for these last three. All right. Okay. Where's our power at? Go. We'll make this a Mark II, just in case. There's no real need. Oh, okay. So we can't use the practice of before. That's fine. We'll just do this. Just one space to the side of the belt. Now we need to calculate how many of these we actually need to power. Based on our belt restraints. And you know what? I think it's going to be one assembler from each belt of screws. So 4 assemblers total. So like we'll do these two. Yeah. And then we'll do these two right here. Just because right now our belts are only transporting 240 screws per minute, and each assembler requires 250 screws per minute, so we can only power 4 right now. But with that done, these should be green. We should see where are the iron plates? No. Yeah. Forgot a few. There we go. Alright, reinforced iron plates. Great. And now the final assembly for this iron outpost will be modular frames. And we need 20 assemblers making modular frames. Just think about the math really quickly. Let's add an assembler, just look at the recipe. Give ourselves plenty of space here. It's not really going to be enough. We really gotta... You know, if we could, I would put it on the other side. Let's think about that. We could easily... Yeah, we can easily put it on the other side. Let's do it. Of course, that definitely makes the argument for using this different rows of screws, but whatever, we'll make it work. Okay. Now we're using a alternate recipe. There are 2 alternate recipes again for modular frames. This one uses steel pipes. Wants to produce at a rate of 3 per minute. So that would be, what, just 60 seconds? So 2 reinforced plates and 10 steel pipes per minute. This produces a rate of 5 per minute. It's the most efficient. And it uses the same reinforced iron plates and screws, but more of both compared to this recipe, which uses iron rods. So 7.5 per minute, 140 screws per minute. Now we've got we'll have the same 4 belts of screws. So I can only assume that we'll need 1 belt of screws for every 5 assemblers if we're making 20 total. Let's just check out the spacing here. Three, 4, 5. Gives a little extra space. Maybe too much. Yeah. Let's shift all of this down. We're going to shift it down too. Right here. Okay. One more slight change. Let's just start on this end here. Give ourselves. What do you mean the floor is too steep? This is all foundations. No. Deconstructed a few. There we go. All right, good. And then here, that's not right. These need to be back a space. Not doing the best job. Yeah, there we go. I think I've already decided that I'm probably going to shift the screw belts around if we're putting the modular frame assembly on this northern side. It just makes sense to use the 4 belts of screws that are on the north. But we'll get everything set up right now. We'll probably do the same thing. You know, I think we're an hour deep. We should just in the episode here, I'll correct the belt situation and place these walls, and then we will quickly wrap up our modular frame production at the start of the next episode, and come up with a system for storage, and start thinking about transportation between the outposts. Then we'll probably move on to the limestone outpost too in the next episode. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're enjoying this series of outposts in the desert as much as I am. Keep hitting that like button. That really helps my my videos, get a little more exposure to different people. And if you guys have any critiques, of which I'm sure there are many potential critiques, just pop those in the comment section, and I'll take a look. I'm always happy to see that, and maybe incorporate your ideas into future episodes. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see everyone in the next episode.